Leonie.
And I'm Crystal-Dior.
Yeah, she likes to sing us through.
Y'all are welcome. Y'all are
You're
welcome.
Okay, so let's get started with our one-liners.
Yes, and so y'all know, the theme today is FOMO.
Yes.
Fear of missing
out, which is, it plagues us. It plagues us.
Everybody.
Yes.
Like everyone, even if you don't currently, I know at some point you had a fear of missing out. So we're going to dive into it.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to start, like Leonie said, with our
one-liners.
Go ahead, Leonie.
FOMO reminds me that the grass is always greener until I realize it's just an IG filter.
That's so sad. Lord.
The grass ain't greener.
It's not.
That's the IG
filter. It's greener
filter.
where you water it. That's
yes, that's a good one.
Okay, so my one-liner, y'all ready? Okay. The only thing I fear missing out on is the peace that comes from truly being present.
That is good. And because you never really realize that you weren't present in the moment until the moment has passed.
Yeah.
And
then you wish you can go back to that moment.
Right. Like,
you know what I mean?
And like just soaked it in more.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I feel that for sure.
Okay, so Okay, so it's Mike who said that.
Do you remember?
Yes, I don't know who's...
You were supposed to figure out who it was.
I know, okay.
Oh.
So who said that?
Are you about to make up this person?
No. No, I'm not.
Yeah, you are. You about to attribute this quote to somebody who doesn't even belong to.
FOMO. It's really just a fear of making the wrong choice.
Okay.
So I gave myself a clue of who it is. I just didn't give myself a clue of knowing who it is, if that makes sense.
So you don't know the clues to tell me?
Yes.
Okay, let's start making stuff up.
Okay, so we're going to break this word up taboo style, okay?
Okay.
So the person is a male. It's a man.
Okay.
His first name is a common American name. Who else has his name? There's a old school artist who was named Blunt Brown.
Chris Brown?
No, older.
Chris older.
Old.
Bobby Brown.
Older.
Older than Bobby Brown?
Uh-huh. Like your mom's age. My mom's age.
I don't be knowing their names. James yes, Brown.
Okay, that's the first name. The last name, it's, people say this, I am blank clear. Wait, I am Crystal.
James Clear.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know who James Clear is. So James
Clear.
Oh my God. You just picked something from this man. Don't know a lick about him. So you remember how I'm always talking about tiny steps?
Atomic Habits.
Yes, exactly. That is what that is. He wrote Atomic Habits.
Now I remember putting this quote down.
That is hilarious.
Atomic Habits.
Mm-hmm.
It just all came back.
Yes, it works perfectly. So, we can talk. I always talk about tiny steps and taking your time, and making your environment conducive to you wanting to make better habits for yourself. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's what he's all about.
There's a saying that says like you are your habits.
Yeah,
and I think it's not about being the best at something. It's about the habits you create around whatever that something is. Like talk about athletes. Some athletes were natural talents. There's some athletes who are just consistently working on the skill and they're at the same level as a natural talent, right?
But I think it's also a myth to think that just because someone has great natural ability to do something doesn't mean that they don't work their ass off to be the GOAT. You know what I'm saying? Because you can have great talent and be good at something.
That's true.
But what makes you the GOAT is that work
natural
ethic.
talent plus the habits. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
So that's so funny. Well, that's who James Clear is. Okay, he said FOMO is really just a fear of making the wrong choice. Okay. I think that's very true.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that. I think you're afraid to move forward because you're worried about messing up, and whatever your mess up being, it being so bad that you can't
fix it. And it's so coming from someone who has made a mistake where it's like it didn't pan out the way
you wanted.
You manifest something to pan out. And so it's like you're living in that fear. That fear comes true of it didn't work out the way I imagined it. So I'm like, I shouldn't have made that choice type of thing. But what I'm realizing is it doesn't matter what choice you make. You will get to where you need to be at the end of the day. Yeah. You're just the lesson that you're going to learn is determined by the choices you make, but it's not going to stop you from getting to where you ultimately want to go.
Yeah, I agree. And that falls into the whole habits and what choices you make. Like I was watching the quote, the TikTok. This woman asked her husband, "Do you think you could cheat on me?" And he said, "I could, but I make a choice not to." Right. And she said, "Well, do you think you'll meet somebody who's more compatible?" He's like, "Possibly. It's a big world. Right. But I'm choosing you." Right? And so it's the same thing. Like, of course he can live in FOMO. I'm not going to get married because what if someone else better? What if there's another? What if but you end up never making a decision.
You never do. And that's what I had to grapple with when I was getting married. I was 27 when we got engaged and married, I believe. And so I was like, I'm young, and there was all the reasons. There was every reason I said like we should get married, and but I'm like I feel young, and like all these what ifs come into your head, and I'm like even if there was somebody there's always going to be somebody who you could see is better at something, better at this, that, or the other. But it's like for where I am now, not even just where I am now. This is who I believe. The person I can spend the rest of my life with is, even if we change, because our mindsets, our foundations are aligned. Yeah. So we are evenly yoked. Yeah. So it's like I had been at that point dating a whole lot by then. I'm like, ain't even young one now one of y'all. Yeah. And so here we go.
Yeah. And the what ifs will paralyze you. The what ifs. Yeah. Like what if there's somebody better? What if there's a better choice? What if I pick this and pick that? The what ifs will have you making no choice and end up with nothing.
Exactly. You know exactly. I mean?
So FOMO will mess you up.
FOMO will really do that in many, many ways.
Do you want to read the Reddit story?
Sure, I'll read it. Okay. So I am a 32-year-old female, single with no kids. I wanted to share a quick story about how FOMO completely messed up my life. Oh, wait. I want to go back and say something. When I said, if you make some choices, there are some choices are life or death. So you do have to be cautious about those. It's not like you could do something and
do your research, think about it.
Right. And then it's like I made this choice and now sometimes all is not well. So we could talk maybe later on like how do you still make decisions knowing that that's a possibility?
Yeah, that you tried your best to make the right one and at some point you have to pull the trigger. Right. You know what I mean?
Yes. Okay. So I'm a 32-year-old female, single with no kids. I wanted to share a quick story about how FOMO completely messed up my life. A couple years ago, I was in a pretty good spot. Stable job, great friends, decent relationship. But then I started seeing everyone else's life on social media and felt like I was missing out. 2 of my friends left their jobs to join the startup, and within weeks they were making big money and living a seemingly fun life. I had no real interest in startup products, but I also didn't want to not join and miss out. So I left my secure job to join a flashy startup because it seemed like the in thing to do. I started going to every event, party, and trip, thinking I had to keep up with everyone else. Fast forward a year, the startup tanked. I was jobless, broke, and my relationship fell apart because I wasn't really present. Chasing what I thought I was missing out on left me with nothing but regret. Now I'm trying to rebuild, but I wish I'd focus on what truly mattered to me instead of trying to live someone else's life. Thanks for reading. Hopefully my experience helps someone else avoid the same mistakes. So what do you think about that?
I've been there. Like I left my stable something. I talked about y'all already know Buddy Shoe. Okay. But at the time I was happy where I was. But at the time my sister had started working for Buddy Shoe and they were paying more than the company that I worked for. Right. And even though I liked where I was, like it was shinier over there. And I was like, let's go.
Right. You know? Let's do this.
And then within a year, I was in debt. They were bankrupt. Goodness. And so it was one of those moments where I realized I had to start making decisions that were best for me holistically. I can't be like, well, they're winning over there. I'm going to go over there. And just like completely jump off of my path and jump off of what I had decided for myself because I'm seeing, well, it's working to go over there. You know what I mean? So I think this is a great lesson. I even hear about people who like will see someone's making it rich as let's say like a TikTok streamer or making it rich as a Airbnb hosts.
Right.
Why did
Which
we
a lot of
do
those
that?
are scams.
Yeah. I don't really want to do that. I don't have a passion for those things. But let me do it because everyone else is doing it.
Right.
And it might not work for you because it's not your thing. And then you're not passionate about it. Or there's more to it than what you're seeing.
There's a lot of times there's more to it where it's like, I saw this guy on TikTok. I saw this girl on TikTok doing this thing. But you don't know their backstory. You don't know how they got into it, how long they've been doing it for the most part.
Yeah.
Some of us will jump into stuff thinking that if they could do it, I could do it. But you don't have none of the habits to actually bring it to that level of difficulty or just goodness of somebody else. You know what I'm saying?
I think there's a Mary Mary song, but you don't know how much I prayed.
Yeah.
There's one of those things where they're looking at them like, you have this great life, but you don't know the tears and the struggles and the bankruptcies and the no money in the account.
Exactly.
All the things that happen before.
You see me at my peak when I've gone through the valleys.
Yeah.
But you're now trying to get to you see my peak and you're like, I could do that. Which you can, but you trying to jump straight into that, and you gotta take the steps to get there.
Yeah. So I mean, in this story, I relate to that because I remember being at that age where you're like, well, everyone else looks like they're booming over there, and I'm over here like let
me jump in, let me fake it till I make it type of thing, which is like, I'm not really a proponent of fake it till you make it anymore. It's like you could be authentic and still make an impact in something without pretending like you have like you're the whole shebang. You know what I'm saying? All of the attachments, the car, the house, and the clothes. Like you don't have to pretend to have that.
And that's what FOMO. I mean, FOMO, yes, it's a fear of making the wrong choice or that you're making the wrong choice. But it's also you comparing. It's you focusing on everything else with what you authentically are called to do or what you authentically should be doing. You're just you're fearing that everyone else is doing the right thing and you're doing the wrong thing.
Right. And what I figured is I used to struggle with FOMO a lot. And I'm in a way that I used to struggle with it, not necessarily as looking at, oh, you have this and I want that and I could do that too. It's like when I had my staging business, the FOMO for me was not making the right moves because I'm like, I'm going to miss out on all the money that's there. Other people are being successful in my area doing this. So that means that there's something else out there. So if I drop it now, then I'm going to leave something on the table. But if I would have backed out sooner, I would have saved a boatload of money. You know what I'm saying? But because I was still holding on to something, because I'm like, I fear of missing out of something like a windfall of blessing coming through on this business when it really was just plain and simple, clear. It didn't make dollars, so I should not have kept going. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I'm the therapist in me feels like I can't not mention that some of us are more prone to this feeling of being insecure about your decisions.
Okay.
Than other people.
Let's talk about it.
So a lot of it, I mean, I always tell people this. Most of my work as a therapist is dealing with people who were trying to recover from their childhoods.
I mean, isn't that not all of us?
That's everybody. Okay.
Is that not all of us?
It's literally all of us.
I'm like, why does everything have to go back to childhood? I've been an adult way longer than I was a child. And I'm like, why does that still...
And your brain was developing in those years.
It's such a like crux in your life.
Because it's hard to... These are like those early years when you're figuring out life and your brain is forming how you make decisions based on what you're experiencing in those years. So if you're experiencing trauma, your brain is learning how to make decisions based on trauma.
Yeah.
So then when you're no longer experiencing trauma, you only know how to make decisions based on trauma. And so with FOMO, or fear of missing out, they say that it really starts with your primary caregiving. And so if you did not have secure relationships with adults, if you experience inconsistent care or emotional neglect, it can make you have an insecure attachment style, right? Which can lead you to have a constant fear within you of missing out on better opportunities or better relationships. Like you just think, I don't know what that feels like. I'm used to things being taken from me. So I'm always afraid of missing out on something better over here. I'm missing out on this whole world that I never knew about.
Yeah.
And so it's hard for you to make decisions for yourself.
That's me, like to a T. And just growing up thinking about the level of FOMO I've had, I didn't go out. I didn't hang around friends a lot. I didn't have friends outside of church. And I did not hang out with anybody in my high school. Okay. So I was never allowed to go to people's houses. I wasn't allowed to if obviously my mom wanted to meet anybody whose house I went to, which it makes sense to a degree, but it's like if no one else is doing that, I don't want to make friends that way type of thing.
Yeah.
So I was in the house a lot growing up in my room, and I wasn't the only child, but I was the youngest. So I was the only one left in the house. So it was just me and my mom.
Like the only child.
Yeah. And me and my mom, we didn't have like the best, most communicative relationship. So I always felt like I was missing out on something because there was people at school, they had stuff to do, they was going to the mall. And I had my niece that I grew up with, like we grew up like sisters, so we would go out together. But she had way more freedom than I did with my sister. So she would go to parties and had her social group and stuff like that. And that wasn't me. So I could see that growing up, having that sense of FOMO. But that started to kind of like wane for me a bit when I went to college because I started to have my own friend groups. And I obviously did me, and I was having a good time. But that still followed me through my adult years, even into my 30s.
Yeah, and they're also saying that if you grew up in environments where your emotions weren't validated, which are usually the same environments that I talked about before, because usually they coincide, right?
Hand in hand.
So you have a higher tendency to be stressed when it comes to making decisions.
Okay.
And that can lead to you feeling like you have to participate in everything. You have to. You don't want to be left out of anything.
Never want to be left out. Don't want to be forgotten. I mean, I even had a situation with a friend like that a couple years ago where I was forgotten from a program, and I felt like really bad about it. And I'm like, I don't want to feel this way, but I do. I feel like I'm about to get therapized right now because this feels like my life.
No, but even I connect with that because although my parents provided a secure environment for us, emotions weren't a thing that we talked about. If I'm sad, they're like, that's not their business. They didn't care about that.
There wasn't a lot of affection.
No, there wasn't. House. It wasn't cuddly. It wasn't,
there's no hugs when you're down. It's like there's no soothing or comforting.
It wasn't touchy-feely.
Yeah, even or even just a conversation most of the time about feelings.
Yeah, and the same thing, like I wasn't allowed to do anything. It was church.
Right, and if you did have and then that's another thing. I would not say anything because it's going to go to the Bible or something like that when it's like that it doesn't feel tangible to a teenager in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't go anywhere unless it was like a cousin's house.
Right.
Or something. They only like maybe 2 cousins, really, to be honest. And so I do have this thing about being left out or being excluded or feeling forgotten.
Yes.
And it's a trigger for me. And it showed up everywhere. I tell people, like, if you can't go, tell me you can't go. But, like, ghosting me or ignoring me, trigger, like, I get immediately triggered.
Okay.
So, yeah, that missing out, being involved, not feeling like everyone's doing something that I'm not doing. It comes from childhood. Stress response, emotional response. So, all that could be manifest into FOMO. Like, you don't want to be missing out. You want to know what's happening. Invite me. What's happening over there.
I would love to talk to somebody who doesn't feel like they struggle with FOMO because I imagine those people as like free birds and self-assured and stuff like that. Like, what does their mind
how do their
minds
function?
Yeah, how do their minds function? Because mine don't function that way.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like as I've gotten older, in some situations, I don't care. Right?
Right.
I know for me, once I've decided, it takes me a long time to decide I am or am not doing something, or I am or am not going to be involved in something. But once I make the decision, I don't think about it. Right. It took me a long time to get there.
Right. So I think since that moment where I had that moment with the friend where I was left out the program, there was a beginning of a shift that happened in me where I'm like, I don't want to, no fault of her own. I don't want to give anybody that power to make me feel like I am allow someone to have that type of power over me to make me feel like broken down because I was left out of something because where it's like, no matter what my level of friendship is with somebody, how much I feel like I may show up for others, I don't want to have that expectation on people. I want to be able to kind of like just where it's kind of like where you give something but you don't expect anything in return type of thing. That's one lesson I learned from that. And I think that plays into FOMO because as somebody who doesn't want to be forgotten and doesn't want to be left out, like in making the decision of like saying yes to everything and trying to be there for people, obviously want to be there for people as often as possible, but sometimes stretching yourself too thin. And then in your mind, you're putting a weight on the things that you do that is not fair to the other person. Right. And so when I shifted from that, where it's like, if I could do stuff, I'm going to do stuff within my capacity. And I'm not going to worry about whether someone's going to reciprocate it or not. And I'm not going to focus on feeling like I'm fear of missing out on things. Yeah.
I think the same for me, that I have learned about, I've also changed, I've redistributed how I focus my attention as well. And I think a big part of it is about like people who reciprocate your love, right? It's not about I treat other people worse or I treat other people better. It's just about I'm going to pour where I feel like I'm going to be poured back. And not in a way of like, well, if you don't do it for me, I'm going to do it for you. Because there's some people who I do for, like you said, and I don't care. Like, I'll help you. It doesn't matter. But those people I think are probably like my ministry. Right? Like, I know these people can't offer me anything. And I expect nothing back from them. But then there's like my core people who it's give and take.
Correct.
And so they get a little bit more intimate time from me. They get a little bit more attention from me because I know I can also lean on them when I'm having a bad day.
Right.
And I think when you don't know who those people are and you think these people are these people, you'll be leaning over here and being dropped. And then now you feel like no one has my back. Yes. Because you weren't leaning. You're like, you know what I mean? So
yeah. And I understand that. So I'm glad you said focus, because that's where I was going to go with my next point, which is when I have a specific focus and I'm comfortable and I'm secure in that focus, I'm not worried about the things I'm missing out on, because I'm focused on this group of friends. I'm focused on my family, this agenda that's in my life. Like, you and I coming together came at the right time.
It did.
Because I felt like I needed a friend that was going to reciprocate the type of friendship I was giving at the time. And I didn't feel like I was necessarily getting that. And not necessarily, I'm not going to put a blame on any of my friends for that, because I could always communicate it. But I didn't have to say it with you.
Yeah.
And so that's what I really appreciated about it. And just us hanging out together and being closer as friends, that has helped me communicate what I want and what I'm looking for in my other friendships.
Oh, but I get it. I know for me, like the entrepreneurial side of me, the fun-loving side of me, I have friends who have pieces of that, who they get. And so I think the same thing with you. Like, I don't wonder, is Leonie mad at me? You know what I mean? I'll be like, let's call her tomorrow.
Right, exactly. Like, even if it doesn't matter. It's like,
call her tomorrow.
We'll talk about it.
Right? But I think, maybe it's because we're older now. You know what I mean? But when I think about my younger Crystal relationships, it was a lot of feeling dropped. Yeah. It was a lot of feeling like, well, I don't forget you. Why'd you forget me? It's a lot of feeling like, man, I showed up for you. Why couldn't you come to my graduation? Or I always come here for you. Why? And it's not that I was wanting anything back in the moment. It's just when I needed you, it was like, you can come. Right? But once I shifted who I pour into and who I expect things from, I haven't felt that way.
Right. So then when you have that focus, maybe that hesitation to say something kind of goes away. Yeah. When you're like, if I'm feeling like, well, you were, say I had something, you didn't show up, like, oh, I wish you would have showed up for me. Right. Yada, yada, yada. Like, we could have that conversation because it goes back and forth. Yeah. But if you have a situation, like, imagine saying that to somebody who does not value the friendship in the same way, or they just don't have the same level of reciprocation, you won't get validated. Your feelings won't be validated in that moment. So then you start to feel, it just harbors bad feelings towards that person, and usually that shouldn't be there. Yeah.
I also think and this is sort of off the subject of FOMO, but I also feel like when we're younger, we keep friends who don't really like us.
Yes.
And I think that's a big part of it too. You know
that's why I mean? When you get to your 30, 35, your friends start dropping off because you start being like,
you don't even like me.
Why are we here? Like, we don't need to do this. You know what I'm saying?
And I think that's a big part of it too. Because when you have people in your life who don't think really like you or really love you, you're more hesitant.
Yeah.
To call them out or invite yourself or show up because you're like, they don't want me there. Yeah. Because a part of you knows these people don't really like you. Right? Now the group that I have, I'll invite myself.
Exactly.
I'm like, oh, I heard you having a party. What time it starts?
Right. We'll be there.
You must have forgot to text me. I don't care.
Exactly.
Like, because I know you like me, and I know you're my friend for real. So I don't mind if I think, oh, she forgot. Whatever, I'll show up.
Exactly, and that comes with just being more mature as well.
Yeah,
and then again, setting your focus on who is going to be your tribe. If you're in my tribe, then I should be able to have these back and forth. There shouldn't be no eggshells that we're stepping on at this point, especially at this age, because anybody got time for that.
Yeah, and that's where the FOMO comes. I mean, the FOMO even comes in like dating. We don't talk about dating much, but I know
we should talk about it more.
But I know for me, I've stayed, and I don't know if this is a good or bad thing, but I've stayed longer than I should have.
Yeah,
because I wanted to make sure when I left, I wouldn't have FOMO. So I stayed way past the expiration date. I had to be sure I didn't want to be here.
Well, what is it called when it's like, I don't want you, but I don't want nobody else to have you either? Is that FOMO?
I don't know if that's FOMO. That might just be plain toxic. That's just regular. That's regular grade toxic.
That's just regular toxic.
But no, for real, like I can look back on all my exes, and I definitely stayed at least 3 to 6 months past when I knew I should leave.
3 to 6
right, and we should
past the expiration date.
Right? But
like, I need to throw that out.
Right? But when I tell you, I look back and I know for a fact I don't want them.
Okay.
Because I waited, I made sure, like, did I try everything? Did I? So when I left, I was like, I did everything I could. This is not it.
Okay.
So I don't have a FOMO of like, cause I've never done the back and forth. I knew I needed to leave. And then when I see them with other people, I was like, oh, poor girl. Like, I know she's crazy. Right? So I don't even have a FOMO there.
For me, that's how when I was in the dating world, I would get broken up with because I should have broken up with them before they broke up with me. But I was like, maybe it'll get better. Maybe we'll turn around. Maybe I was definitely non-confrontational. So still have a little bit, I'm more confrontational now than I was back then, but I was like, I didn't want to say anything.
Yeah, so sorry, exes. I'll create a support group.
I'm not sorry. I've been married for a good minute now, having a good time.
Yeah, but it's part of FOMO. I think when you're not able to make your decision, stick with your decision without looking back. Like, that's what FOMO is. Like, you make a decision, you're like, whoa.
I just want to have a moment for deliverance for that. Because, mean, I'm sure I have a ways to go. But from where I am now, I am way further now when it comes to that than I was before. I'm not looking back right now. And that feels freeing.
Yeah, it is. And I feel the same way. Like, I don't even think about old Crystal. You know, and maybe I should have, I don't.
And let me say, there is something freeing as well about having the FOMO of like, the decision making, or like, what if I make the wrong choice or whatever. There is something freeing about picking a choice and falling on your face. There's something freeing about making the wrong choice.
It's a lesson.
Because you get to see what's after that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like, if I made the choice that sent me down a path I was dreading, I didn't want to go, I did it anyway, but I'm still here, I'm still alive, and I'm high key still thriving. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So
no, I agree. You learn more from your failures than you do success.
Yes. Right? Yes.
Because if you've only succeeded, eventually something's going to go wrong. But you won't be prepared for that. You're going to panic, freak out. Listen, I've had $0 in my account, and I've had a lot of money in my account. Right. So I'm not afraid of being broke. I've been there before, and I'm still here.
Right. Listen, we've got broke mastered. Listen.
I took the class.
Right. We took the class. I got the t-shirt. We got the handout.
I make that $5
teach a whole class on being broke. But the scary part about having a lot of money is like, there's so many options, and there's how do you make less choices when you have all the
more
choices?
Options. Yeah.
Yes, you said how to be disciplined when you have every option in the world now. So that is also a challenge, and I think that's more challenging than trying to get money while you're broke. You know what I'm saying?
I know career-wise, where I'm still working on the FOMO is, do I leave or do I stay? Right? When it comes to being at a company. Because you're like, well, I know I should leave because you get paid more when you leave. But I don't want to be those people who just be leaving and then they would have got a promotion over here. So it's like, that's a hard thing in the corporate world. It's like, even right now, like my company's going through a change. And so I might have an opportunity to switch roles, right? But I'm like, I've built so much influence in this role. So do I stay here or do I take a leap and go over there? But then will I be mad that I'm over there and want to be back here?
Right, like, I hate it. One thing, since we're on the subject, one thing I did I was doing some research on something and I figured this out, that when people get a promotion, like they get paid more money in a job, their stress actually increases because they feel like they have to deliver more and do this more and that more and stuff like that. So sometimes it's more about having a stress-free life is more about taking less money, but also finding a way to give yourself more time.
To you. Yeah. I know they're talking about, when I was doing research as well, they're talking about how most of us who are overspenders, because I'm an overspender. Okay. My name is Crystal. Right. I'm an overspender.
My name is Leonie. Well, I used to be an overspender.
Okay, she delivered.
I'm still a work in progress, but I'm not overspending right now, mainly because I can't. But that's a good place to be when you were spending like I was spending.
But that urgency of there's a sale, it's going to end. You'll be able to buy this again.
Oh, right. First of all, the whole FOMO. All advertisement is based on FOMO for the most part.
Like even I have this dining room table that I bought from Temu.
Oh God! I ain't made it on the Temu train. I don't know.
The table happened to be nice.
Every time I look on there, I'm like, this is a bunch of hype. None of this stuff look good to me.
But I bought this table because it kept popping up on my social media advertisement, and it was the price is going to go up. You gotta buy it now.
Right?
You get free returns. Just buy it. If you don't like it, you can return it. So I bought it at 3 a.m. I bought this table, but it's a good table, sort of. But but that's FOMO. That's all FOMO. Or plane tickets. You gotta buy your ticket now because it's gonna go up.
Right. It's creating the scarcity. It's like this. Like you gotta get it now. You gotta get it now. You gotta get it now. Which I mean, I feel like there's a line there. Because some people will just dilly-daddle and don't make a decision. It's like you got to put a hard stop on it for the people who need to hurry up and make a decision.
So it's for those who are indecisive and for those who are just afraid to miss something.
Yes.
Right? FOMO impacts.
It does. On every last one of us.
Yeah.
There was one thing I was going to say. Oh, FOMO with home buyers. Did you feel like you had FOMO when you bought?
100%.
Okay. How do you feel
immediately
now?
felt like you made the wrong decision. And, I should have did this. Or I should have that. And if I were to do it again. Buying a house is probably one of the... I still have FOMO, right?
That you bought the house? Or...
The house that I bought, right?
Okay.
So I look at other people's houses. Well, I could have got a newer house. They paid this much, man. Their mortgage is the same price as my mortgage. And I have an older house, right? So all these things cross your mind of they're close to the city. And that I should have. But I also love my home. So I probably wouldn't even be thinking... about it. If I only had my house, if it's the only house I knew about, I would be happy with my house.
Right.
But because I'm looking at everyone else's choices and the choices they made, it makes me doubt my choice.
Oh, okay.
Right? So that's what FOMO is. It's making you doubt your choice.
Yeah.
Even though you're happy. It would be different if I hated my house. I like my house. Yeah, it has its problems. It behaves me. But I also know people with brand new houses who have
crazy
issues
problems. I know one of my family members got a house, brand new house built from the ground up. There was a leak in the roof. There was her caught on fire. It was a mess.
Yeah, new builds have issues too. One of my friends has a brand new house and she had to get all her floors redone. She's only been in the house a year and a half.
Why?
Because when they put them down, they did it wrong. So it wasn't done properly.
Me and Robert, we were closing on a house and we pulled out at the last minute. We were about to close on a house because we did that final walkthrough. You know how there's but this for it was a brand new built house. So they had tape all around to this has to be fixed. It's got to fix all that. And I go in there and I look and there's this window in one of the rooms, literally the whole window cut out, slanted like that. Crooked. I said, are y'all going to fix that? And they were kind of no, not really saying nothing. And I'm like, I don't feel comfortable closing on this house because we're going to have to fix this window is in crooked, y'all. This is a very nice, brand new house. Why is this the case? So that was the last time we were going to buy a house.
Yeah.
And we're it's just, I'm at this point where I kind of just want to build it myself because I want to pick all the materials and all that stuff because we had major FOMO for that whole boom that was going on. Major FOMO. Because we put our investment somewhere else. But I'm I'm glad that I missed that train because because of FOMO, we would have picked a house that we would have had to repair over and over and over again.
And I think it's a decision you have to, especially stuff like that, it has to be a decision for you. You can't be I should have, you know, you have to be happy in decision and not look at what everyone else is doing because everyone's grass isn't greener. Everyone got to water their grass. If you don't water your grass, it's going to die. Everyone's grass, right? So it's like you have to...
Everyone's right. Oh my God. And if you focus on your grass and you watered your grass, you had a focus, then it's going to grow into a beautiful garden.
Yeah.
So don't think about no one else's grass being like looking at their grass while you're trying to, do something with yours. Look at your grass. Yeah. Focus on your grass and your garden and your space.
That fear of missing out on something will mess with your confidence. It will mess with your ability to make decisions. And life is all about making decisions for yourself. And it's more about how do I make the best decision for Crystal, not how do I make the best decision that everyone else will like, that everyone else will approve of, that everyone else will be like, oh, you made a good choice. No, I need to be able to make sure I'm happy with my decision. Right, it's not about what everyone, because they're not the CEO of me, right? They don't know my inner thoughts, my inner wants, and what works for me. So even like when it comes to dating, people can look at your partner and be like, no. Yeah. Why are you picking?
Well, also, if everybody's saying that, take a second, look at your partner.
Well, if he's a red flag, right? But most people know when their partner's a red flag. They're ignoring it. If we're being honest.
Do they? Do they really know?
I think they deep down know. Because
if you know your partner's a red flag, but you just refuse to heed it, let me know, because I'd be confused.
No, I think people know, and it's more of a confidence thing. They don't think they can get anyone better.
Oh, okay.
They want someone better, but they don't think they can get anyone better. But they know he's toxic. If your partner's coming home, treating you bad, talking to you crazy, you know he's treating you bad, talking to you crazy. Right? But you're accepting because you think that's what you have. These are your choices. But you know.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
It's not like you're like, oh, that's bad language. Like, you know it's bad language.
Okay.
Because they'll hide it. They'll make excuses. They won't tell people that they're treating them this way. If you don't know it's bad, you'll tell everybody, oh, you cursed me out today? Right? You never hear
Some people be saying that.
You never hear one in a toxic relationship like, girl, he was talking to me crazy today. No. They hide it because they know this is toxic behavior.
That's hilarious.
But
girl, I told him to go to hell. He said, "Yeah, I'll meet you there."
Right? Girl, he a bum. Like, no, you're not gonna tell him like that. So that's how you know.
Okay.
But yeah, it messes with your confidence. So you have to make decisions that are the best.
Being indecisive is a true indicator of a lack of confidence.
Yeah. I know because I feel like I'm just in the place where I can make decisions. I feel like my parents, they definitely told me I could do whatever I want to do, but they also told me as long as I do what they want me to do. Right?
What does that
but
mean?
You can be the president as long as I want you to be the president.
Oh,
right?
no.
So it made me reliant on their decision making. Right? It made me want to, every time I had to make a big decision, they had to tell me it was okay for me to really feel okay about it.
Yeah.
Right? And so it took me a lot, probably more recently, for me to be like, no, I make the good decisions for myself.
Yeah.
Yes, I will still seek their advice and I'll listen. Oh, okay, I'll take what I need, leave what I don't. That's my favorite line. I let people give me advice all day. I'm going to do what I want to do at the end of the day.
At the end of the day.
I'm going to be like, oh, that was a good idea. I'm going to consider that.
Right. And it takes, especially coming from me as a church girl, where it's like, don't make a move without God telling you can do it and stuff like that. And I'm also kind of unlearning and relearning some ways to even depend on God and the trusting that He has my steps ordered. That just because your steps are ordered doesn't mean you can't make a move, make a decision, do something without over spiritualizing it, feeling like it has to come directly from God. I have to hear God's voice or something like that. It's okay to make decisions and keep going, and don't have to wait for every little thing to be like, well, God, is the job that you want for me? It's like, apply for the job, take the job, and let God work the rest out. You know
honestly,
what I'm saying?
If you're the type of person who you talk to God every day, He's in you. He gives you peace about decisions, right? And I think sometimes when people tell you that, well, did you pray about it? They're making you question yourself.
Yeah.
Because they don't think you should do it. Because they didn't pray about if you should do it. Right? They didn't go to God on your behalf, and God told them you shouldn't do it. So they tell you that. It's just it makes me feel like, one, you think I don't talk to God every day. And two, you think I'm making a bad decision, which then makes me doubt myself. Right? So I'm like, well, let me ask God again. Right? And then I'm sure God's like, didn't I already tell you?
Or just make the decision. It's like, I think it's better to be decisive, and God is God. He's going to be able to find a way to get you to His plan, through His plan, how he sees fit.
Especially if he knows you have the best intentions. Like, you're not trying to be disobedient.
Right.
You're trying to do what's right. And if you happen to do what's wrong, he knows you're trying to do what was right. Right? Because I don't think he wants us to be, like they say, like when you're a child, you do what children do. When you're an adult, you do what adults do. We're not eating baby food anymore, right? We're the big leagues. Right.
You should be able to cut that steak up and eat it.
Yeah, you know something wrong. Like, don't steal. I don't have to ask God, should I steal? Don't lie. I don't have to ask God, should I lie about that? I know I should. So I think when people do that, it's because they think you shouldn't do it. But they think you shouldn't do it. They didn't pray about that. They just think you shouldn't do it, right? So learning how to be dependent on yourself and the Holy Spirit within you, or the God within you, and not leaning on your parents or your pastors to make all your decisions for you. Yeah. That's when you really have peace.
Yes. Because
honestly, the consequences are on you. They're not on everybody else.
Right. And that's another thing. I mean, I don't know if we're still on the topic of FOMO, but it's like not wanting to take the blame for your own actions and your decisions. So you may find it easier if somebody else makes a decision for you. And you're like, well, you didn't tell me to do this and da-da-da-da. So then I didn't do it or something like that. So it's like being a grown-up about whatever you're doing and knowing that if you're going to make a decision, stand by that.
So I want to talk about what are some ways that you and I have both figured out how to push past the FOMO, even when it still comes up. How do we push past it so that you're not feeling anxious and anxiety and stressed about all your decisions? So what do you do?
So now that I'm a mom, it's easy for me to just forget about FOMO because I like to spend time with my family, with my husband, with my child. So I feel FOMO if I'm not hanging out with them a lot of times. But there's also times where I'm like, well, my friends, like they're going out there doing things. I want to be able to do them. What I do for those cases, I kind of like make up a separate event. So in terms of a FOMO, if say you and our friends go out and I'm not able to go, I'll say, let's do brunch this other day or something like that. So it's like, it's less about the event for me and more about the time spent and the interaction. So make up for things that way. Like my family reunion just happened and I wanted to go. I wasn't able to go. And I'm like, there's FOMO there, but I called some of my family members and I was able to talk to them. So it's like, how was it? How'd it go? What was going on here and there? Yeah. So I could still be involved and still being at the top of their mind and letting them know they're at the top of my mind during this family time. So I just communicate more.
I know for me, like when it's like a big decision, I feel like people don't agree with my decision, but I know it's the right one for me. That's when I'll start feeling like, oh, I'm missing out. Maybe I should have done what they did. So for me, a big part of it is unplugging. Like I'll unplug from social media for a bit. I'll get off of Instagram, which is more where the FOMO is. TikTok is like mainly strangers, right? Instagram is people you know. So you're seeing what they're doing. They're commenting there. If you post anything, like they're giving an opinion, right? So I unplug that. And then also, I don't introduce people to what I'm doing until I'm confident in what I'm doing.
Okay.
So if I never get confident in it, then I won't do it.
Yeah.
But if it's something like when it comes to a new job or when I moved to Houston or when I bought my house or even if I'm dating someone, until I'm confident in this decision, I don't bring other people into it.
That's good.
So then once I'm confident in it, then I don't care what you're saying. I already know this is what I want.
Yeah.
Right? But I have to be confident. If I have any questions in my mind when I introduce you to it, then you bringing up questions is going to make me spiral down the anxiety of am I making the right choice. Right. So that's a big part of it. I don't enter other people's opinions until I'm strong in mine. Because it just helps me. It just helps me.
I feel that.
Stick to my decision.
Yeah. And for me, just going along with that is living in the moment as well. So whatever I'm not able to do, don't focus on not being able to do that thing, but focus on what I am doing right now.
That makes me think of this concept of joy of missing out. JOMO.
Oh, okay.
JOMO.
JOMO.
So the concept flips the script on FOMO and it encourages people to find joy in what they are doing rather than stressing on what they aren't. Yes. This mindset shift helps to appreciate the present, deepen connections, and living more fulfilled life in what you are in now. Right? So I think JOMO. We're going to have JOMO.
JOMO.
The joy of missing out. Everything ain't for you. Right.
And I think, like I said, what helped me with that more than ever is being a mom now, where it's like, people, if you're a mom, then you know about mom guilt. And like, if you're at work, you're guilty. You feel guilty you're not with your kids. If you're with your kids, you feel guilty that you're not doing something, moving the needle at work or something like that. If you're with your friends, you're like, I can be doing, it's always something else you could be doing. Always. So it's like, instead of me doing that, I'm going to be present because I'm robbing my family or my job or my friends of this full present moment. And then it turns into, then you start to feel guilt after that because you missed out on that one thing and you weren't present in the other thing. So it's like, just you lose twice. And it's a constant cycle of just guilt and frustration and disappointment. It's like, I don't want that. Life is too short.
Yeah, that's good. Well, let's jump to things we wish we knew.
Okay. Things we wish we knew.
Go ahead.
For me, mine is don't be afraid of leaving behind what could have been. If it don't make dollars, then it don't make sense, no matter what you leave behind.
Amen to that. The dollars. Y'all know I care about the dollars.
Okay.
Okay, so mine is, I wish I knew that it's impossible to miss out. Tongue-tied. I can't say tongue-tied. I wish I knew it's impossible to miss out when you're tuned into what you're called to do in life.
Exactly. Going back to that focus thing.
Yeah.
Yes. When you're focused, and again, if you're not here, don't beat yourself up about not being here because sometimes it comes in certain seasons.
When you're ready for it.
When with maturity, getting older, you're 35, right? We're both 35 now. And so there's a whole lot of stuff. There's a whole lot of practice we had and feeling FOMO and then realizing like it really wasn't all that bad.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's really not that bad.
You'll get what you're supposed to have when you're supposed to have it. And if you had it now, you probably wouldn't have even enjoyed it. Right. So just don't worry about someone's ahead of me, someone's doing it more. I should be. No, like it might not be. Maybe when you do it, it's going to be different. It's going to be a new version, but you need it. Like who knows? But don't dwell on that.
And so one more thing to wrap it up. I don't know if it's wrap it up. You have more to say. But another thing I feel like we didn't get a chance to touch on is in social media, how a lot of like this past, and that when whoever created whatever they did, podcast, YouTube or whatever in like 2020, a lot of them like took off. There was this couple that I followed that did like pranks and vlogs and stuff like that. They had when I had my first channel, we started at the same time. They don't know me, so I was just stalking them. Started at the same time, and now they're at like over 1 million followers. And I started following them when they were brand new, like how we are now. And so they have all these followers now, and I'm like, a lot of people have that opportunity to grow like that. And so I don't know where we're gonna go, how many numbers we're gonna hit with this endeavor with this channel and this podcast, but it's like, yes, that was a moment, like a fire moment. Like it's a moment where I can have FOMO, or it's like where I could do what I'm doing now, which is I'm gonna keep doing these episodes, being present, enjoying this moment, and maybe in a year or so or a couple of years we can say that we are at whatever level. And so if you keep going,
the habits.
Yes, you built those habits. If you keep going, you won't really get to experience FOMO because you're going to be focused and you're going to find
what you're supposed to do. And so, just keep living. Yeah. Because oh my God, wait, my mom used to tell me that as a kid. Just keep living.
Just keep living.
We're that age.
Just keep living. It's like, so for me, going to a club or something like that with y'all, with my friends, and y'all going out to a lounge, it's like I haven't been to Chapman and Kirby yet. I want to go, but it's like I've also, if I never go, that's fine because we turned up 1,000 times. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's not going to be your last time where you're going to turn up. Yeah. You know, there will be another Chapman and Kirby if this happened to close down or something like that.
Maverick's turning 2. So that might be another turn up. Just the TikTok.
Follow that TikTok, My Baby Club birthday party.
But speaking of following.
Yes.
Please follow us on Giggles and Goals on all social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, iTunes. We're everywhere. YouTube here. Follow us. Let us know what you think, how you're feeling about what we're talking about. And if you have FOMO, like what if you have FOMO? Or maybe you're in the JOMO level of life. Like,
yes.
Tell us about your JOMO.
I feel like Gen Z definitely is a JOMO generation. They don't care about missing out. Listen, if you're Gen Z and you listen to this podcast, let us know about your JOMO.
Let us know. Yes. Definitely follow our individual journeys at Leonie Hunter _.
Yeah, so everything is in the description box below.
Yes.
All of our socials,
check it all
everything.
Out. Crystal-Dior.com. Check it all out. Let us know what you think. And then, like we talked about James Clear, check out his book. It's a good book. He's not paying us for this yet. But check it out. And we love y'all.
All right. Bye.
Bye.